found the pregnancy test in my bathroom trash. Positive. I was going to be a father. Except I'd had a vasectomy 3 years earlier. I was my brother's best man 18 months before that moment. I'm talking custom suits, choreographed speech, the whole production. Danny was 7 years younger than me. I practically raised him after Dad walked out when Danny was 9. Standing there at that altar, watching him marry Alicia, I felt like I'd done something right, you know? Like I'd actually broken the cycle our father started. Sarah, my wife, was Alicia's maid of honor. That's how close we were. Not just brothers, not just married couples who saw each other on holidays. We were family in that suffocating, beautiful way where boundaries dissolve. 6 months after their wedding, we bought a duplex together. 2 units, 1 building. Shared backyard. They lived on the left side, we lived on the right, and there was a gate between our back porches that was never locked. Sunday dinners every single week. Shared Netflix account. We had memberships at the same gym. When I got the vasectomy, everyone knew. It wasn't a secret. Sarah and I had talked about it for 2 years before I did it. We didn't want kids. We wanted freedom, travel, disposable income. Danny was there when I came home from the procedure, brought me ice packs, and made jokes about frozen peas. That's the kind of close we were. The night I found the test, Sarah had been sick for 2 weeks. Morning sick, I realize now. But she told me it was food poisoning from the Thai place we loved, then stress from her new job when the symptoms didn't stop. I believed her because why wouldn't I? You don't suspect pregnancy when your husband literally cannot have children. It was a Tuesday night. I was taking out the trash, something so mundane I'd done it 1,000 times before. The test was right there on top, not even hidden. Pink plastic, 2 lines. Positive. I stood in that bathroom for 40 minutes just staring at it. The first emotion wasn't anger. It was confusion. Medical confusion, like maybe the vasectomy had failed, even though I'd had the follow-up tests. Even though I'd gotten the all clear 3 years ago. Sarah wasn't home. Book club, she'd said. Except this was Tuesday, and book club was Thursdays. When she walked through the door around 10:30, I was sitting at the kitchen table with the test in front of me. I was calm. Eerily, artificially calm. I held it up and asked her to explain. And here's the thing. She started crying immediately. Instant tears. Real ones, I think. She said, "I didn't know how to tell you. I thought you'd be angry." And for maybe 30 seconds, my brain did these incredible gymnastics to make this, okay, medical miracle? IVF behind my back with my frozen sperm I didn't know existed? My mind was building escape routes from the obvious conclusion. She sat down across from me and said, "It's not what you think." That goddamn phrase. She confessed that she'd wanted a baby, that she'd gone to a sperm donor, that she'd been planning to tell me after she confirmed the pregnancy. She made it sound like a surprise gift that went wrong, like she'd bought me the wrong color sweater. I asked her who the donor was, whether it was through a clinic, official, legal, anonymous. She went silent. That silence lasted maybe 5 seconds, but it felt like falling down a well in the dark. Then she said, "It's someone we know, someone who loves us, someone who has your eyes, your smile, someone who could give us a child that looks like you." I felt cold, starting from my chest, spreading out like ink in water. I knew before she said it. "Danny?" I whispered. She nodded. I asked how long. She said 3 months. 3 months of deliberate, planned conception. She tracked her ovulation. They timed it. They tried. That's what killed me in that moment. They tried. This wasn't a drunken mistake at a Christmas party. This wasn't a weak moment. This was a project with a goal and a timeline. All those Sunday dinners suddenly looked different in my head. Every time they were late, every time Danny offered to drive Sarah to the gym when I was working late. The duplex, the shared backyard, the unlocked gate. She'd suggested the duplex. "Wouldn't it be perfect to live so close?" she'd said. I'd thought it was beautiful. It was strategic. She told me they did it for me, so I could have a child that was half mine genetically, so the baby would look like our family. She actually used the word gift. She said it would be a gift. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I stood up, got my keys, and drove to Danny's place. It was 11 at night. Alicia answered the door in her pajamas. She looked at me and just knew. Her face did this thing where it closed up, like shutters coming down. "He told you," she said. Not a question. I nodded. Then she said something that made me understand this was even worse than I thought. Did he tell you about the others too? Others, plural. I must have looked confused because she laughed. Not a happy sound, a hollow, broken sound. She let me in, and we sat in her living room, the mirror image of mine, separated by one wall and two lives. She made tea. We didn't drink it. Alicia told me Danny had been sleeping with Sarah for 2 years. Not 3 months, 2 years. The pregnancy wasn't planned for me. It was an accident in an ongoing affair. Sarah only framed it as a gift when I found the test because she was desperate and caught and scrambling. Alicia had known for 6 months. Danny confessed after Sarah got pregnant, broke down crying, begged forgiveness. Promised he'd end it. He hadn't. Alicia showed me phone records. Hotel receipts she'd been collecting like evidence for a trial that would never happen. Timestamps that matched nights. Sarah said she was at book club, or working late, or visiting her sister. Alicia was 8 months pregnant, legitimately pregnant with Danny's child. She'd stayed because of the baby, because she didn't want her child growing up without a father like Danny and I had. The duplex was Sarah's idea specifically to be closer to Danny. They'd been sleeping together in our homes, in our beds, probably while Alicia and I were at work or running errands or living our oblivious lives 20 feet away. Alicia called them both, told them to come over for an emergency. I sat at that Sunday dinner table, the one we'd shared 50 times, and waited. The table had scratches on it from where we'd played board games, wine stains we never quite got out. It was the site of birthdays and holidays and 1,000 normal moments that were all contaminated now. Danny arrived first, saw me through the window, and tried to leave. I blocked the door. "Sit down," I said. He sat. Sarah arrived 10 minutes later. Saw all of us. The color drained from her face. She sat without being told to. The four of us at that table, in complete silence for what felt like an hour, but was probably 2 minutes. I didn't yell. I didn't slam my fists. I asked questions in this clinical, detached tone that scared me even as it came out of my mouth. When did you decide I was pathetic enough to do this to? Danny tried the brotherhood angle. You're my brother. We can work through. I cut him off. Did you think about that when you were with my wife? Sarah reached for my hand. I pulled back like she was made of acid. I asked Danny one question. If the baby is yours, are you going to leave Alicia and raise it with Sarah? He looked at his wife, his pregnant wife, the one carrying his legitimate child, and he couldn't answer. That's when I understood. He didn't love Sarah. He wasn't leaving his marriage. He just wanted both. And Sarah had let herself become a side piece to my little brother, the one I raised, the one I taught to tie his shoes and ride a bike and be a man. Sarah broke down, admitted she'd fallen in love with him, that it started innocently, just conversations, then emotional, then physical, like there's a progression that makes it acceptable. Danny said he never meant for it to go this far, as if there's an acceptable distance for betrayal. Alicia said she was staying with Danny despite everything, for their child, for the life they'd built. She said it like a confession and an accusation. I stood up, pushed my chair in carefully, precisely, and I left. Sarah had a miscarriage 6 weeks later. I know because her mother called me, thought I should know. I felt nothing. We'd already filed for divorce. I moved across the state. Danny tried to call 47 times in 3 months. I counted, never answered, never listened to the voicemails. Blocked him after call 47. Alicia had her baby. Danny sent me a photo. I deleted it without opening it. My mother still invites me to Christmas. Danny will be there. I won't be. People ask if I miss my brother. I tell them I don't have a brother. He died the day I found that pregnancy test. The person who looks like him, sounds like him, that's just someone who wears his face. You know what the worst part is? It's not what they did. It's that they're still together, Danny and Alicia. They're raising their kid in that duplex, playing happy family, and sometimes, late at night, I wonder if he still sees Sarah. If they still meet, if the baby hadn't miscarried, would she be there too? Would they have figured out some twisted co-parenting arrangement? I got a vasectomy reversal consultation last month. New city, new life, maybe someday a new family. But I'll never be able to be in a delivery room without doing the math. Counting backward. checking timelines, calculating possibilities. That's what they took from me. Not just my wife, not just my brother. They took the ability to trust the math.